Hey guys, it's me, Cupid again. I have schizophrenia. So today I wanted to talk a little bit about, go back over, not over, but finish up the coping skills packet that I was reading off the other day. And then I had a couple of stories that I wanted to tell. So I guess let's get started, right? Um, from this packet is self-help guide to dialoguing with voices. So this is purely coping skills for dealing with voices. I again will probably be doing coping skills for other things outside of just voices, but mainly to do with schizophrenia. Different things that we can work on. I also want to talk more about the spiritual side of my belief of the spiritual side of schizophrenia as well, and maybe some things that you can do as a spiritual person if you believe in that. Not today, but another day. So today, um, we're going back and talking about the coping skills for voices. So, first one, what can I talk about? One aim of dialoguing can be to find out what the voice's underlying intention is. It can be helpful to try and find out what the voice is feeling, needing, or what is important to the voice. Um, you can maybe see yourself as an investigating journalist. You are trying to gather more information so that maybe you can better understand why the voice is there, what it thinks its job or mission is, and how you can live better together. If you can't get rid of them, why not find a way to deal with them, right? Um, what questions can I ask the voices? Um, Here are some ideas. How are you? What's important to you right now? How are you feeling? Do you have any advice for me? What would my life be like if you weren't there? What is your job? What music, food do you like? What situations do you dislike? How do you relax and get rest? How are you finding talking to me? Um, if you are beginning to have more of a dialogue with a voice, you can try and ask it questions like, when you say blah blah blah, what do you mean? Why do you say this? Why do you say this now? How do you feel when I blah blah blah? Um, yeah, so I know some people have expressed that they don't like talking to their voices. I know that I tend to ignore mine because I feel like it draws me into that realm of not real, whatever you want to call it, just like a different reality. It draws me into that when I try to talk to them too much. They make me believe things, and it's not like their words are describing something. That it's like they take you into a whole different reality. Like your brain is suddenly a different brain, and you're, I don't know how else to explain it, but like you are literally walking into another realm, and everything looks different, everything is different, and they just like you believe fully into what they're saying. I don't know how else to explain that. I've tried to explain it to other people. It's like a fog that they put you in. I think that's actually been a description that has been used for people with schizophrenia, is that they live in a fog. Um, so it's kind of like going into, I don't know how else to best describe it. Um, but everything becomes real. All of the things that they're saying, suddenly it feels so real, and it's not just them describing it as real. It's like, oh my god, it has to be real. Um, so I know that people don't like talking to their voices because of those things. I not saying that talking to your voices is bad, because I do recommend that you do talk to them sometimes, especially if you're going to have to deal with them. getting to know them and trying to be personable with them. Getting them on your side is another thing that they recommend. Just building a rapport with them. Um, so, yeah, these are great questions you can ask to get to know them. How can I build a better relationship with the voices? Just what I was talking about. Can you find common ground with your voice? E.g., for half an hour a week, listen to music a voice likes or eat food it likes once a week. You can negotiate what clothes to wear, e.g., let the voices choose which socks, scarf to wear, or ask them if there's a particular piece of jewelry they like. Keep your voices informed of your plans for the day, especially voices that feel anxious can calm down when you keep telling them what is going to happen. It makes things more predictable and might help the voice feel safer. So keeping them informed of what's happening if they're an anxious voice, if they have issues like that. Building relationships based on equality and respect can be hard work. Again, remember, talking to these voices like they are a human being is the best recommendation. Like they are another person. Talk to them like they are. And talking to another human being, you would want to give them equality and respect. It's a better way to deal with the voices because then you get them again on your side. Equality means that both parties take responsibility for what they say and do. You try to express yourself clearly and with honesty, which can be scary, and you respect difference of opinions. You don't try to impose your way of doing things or your way of seeing the world on others. What are things to avoid in dialoguing, talking with the voices? So it's great information to know. Talking with them all the time, try to balance it out. So talking with them all the time is not recommended. Try to balance it with engaging with outside world, e.g., dialoguing for half an hour a day. So, like they recommend limiting it. Being aggressive towards voices. This is something to avoid. Trying to force a voice to talk. Not sticking to agreements. Like any relationship, sticking to agreements will help build trust and respect. So if you don't stick to an agreement, you might piss off voices. If you agreed to it, definitely recommend sticking to your agreement. And being dishonest. The voices, I know some people know this, but the voices know when you're lying. Not always, but most of the time they know when you're lying. So being dishonest with them is not going to help. It's only going to hurt. So another great way to deal with the voices instead of doing those things is using humor. Humor can be a helpful way to lighten a conversation or build bridges. There may be things you can laugh about with the voices you normally disagree with. Some voices like irony and witty comments. Once you get to know the voices you hear, they may turn out to have a great sense of humor, or you might find that together you can see the funny side of things. Using creativity. Changing how we relate to each other doesn't have to always be about talking. Sometimes it can be nice to do things a bit differently. Here are some things that other people who hear voices have done. Created Facebook profiles for their voices. I remember reading this now too in group, and I was like, interesting. Most of my voices probably already have a Facebook profile though, because they're real people. So it would be very hard to create a Facebook profile using these people's names when they already have those names. I don't know if that would be a good idea, because then it would be like catfishing. The voices had to choose their name and profile picture, and it created a dialogue about what the voices liked and didn't like. If you don't want to create a real Facebook profile, you can ask the voice what kind of things it would like to put on a profile if you were making an account for it. So instead of actually making the profile, just ask them what you would put on it if you were going to make the profile. Making puppets to represent the voices, together with the voice decide on looks, etiquette. Making collages, together with the voice choose images and words to create a collage that tells a story about the voice or says something about who the voice is. And remember, giving them attention is sometimes what they need. So doing something creative where it actually helps to understand them, like showing them that you understand them, that you're trying to understand them, can get them on your side. It can make them more interested in being with you than being against you. Um, Writing poetry or rap, um, writing for the voice, drawing or painting the voices, how they feel or the stories they tell, inviting the voice along when you do things, e.g., go for a walk, do poetry together, dedicate an activity to the voice, e.g., eating something comforting, doing yoga or exercising, listening to music. Let the voice know you are doing these things because you know he, she likes it. So that is it for coping skills, at least this packet. Coping skills with voices, how to dialogue with them. Um, Now I kind of want to talk about a couple of stories. May only have time for one. So I just started talking to a girl, met her online, and I told her that I'm schizophrenic, and she took it really well, way better than I expected. I was actually really surprised. Um, she seemed intrigued, actually, so kind of interesting. Instead of her being scared, she was more like, "Wow, what?" Like, like asking questions, like, "What does it feel like? Do you know this?" And blah blah blah. Just seemed even more interested in me than before, which was kind of interesting itself. That she's more interested in me. I remember I was talking to her, and um, I made a joke, and she's like, "No, I'm totally interested in you," uh, and I really want to keep talking to you. So, um, yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know that. I mean, it seems like things could go either way when you first start talking to someone, whether it be them not liking you because of it or liking you because of it. Um, and I think that we all deserve a chance to be loved, whether or not we have schizophrenia or not. Um, so it's out there, I'm sure. Kind of gives you hope, maybe a little bit. All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the things that happened before my third episode. So I talked about how I lost 6 people that year, one of them being from suicide, and that there's a bunch of other stuff that happened. I found out my mom was severely sick that year as well, um, which is kind of interesting because um, a part of the delusion was that my mom was trying to find me someone to be there for me after she dies. So that was part of it. And she was looking at doing assisted suicide during 2016 and different things like that. So it was a pretty hard year, and I was not ready to lose my mom. Um, and then I also found a friend, a childhood friend that I was like my best friend growing up, and I'd known her since she was a little girl. Um, I found her on the streets in December of 2016, so this was all 2016. I found her on the streets. She was on some drugs. She was homeless. She was carrying around all of her belongings in a cart, just like a shopping cart. And it was really hard to see. It really like put a different perspective on things for me. I could see myself being in that position just because I have schizophrenia. Like most people who have like there's a lot of people with schizophrenia that live on the streets, and most of the people who live on the streets who have schizophrenia, the reason being is um, either drugs or because they didn't have someone to take care of them, you know, someone to help them and not take care of them necessarily, but they didn't have a support system, people who could help them deal with their issues, and so they ended up on the streets, you know. A lot of people lose their jobs because of delusions, or can lose their jobs, not that they do, but they can lose their jobs because of delusions, and that ends up making them lose their place of living, and then things like that, and it can just spiral out of control. And it was just really hard to see someone that I cared about living on the streets and unable to get out of that position. And I would have taken her home with me, but my roommate at the time was like, no, we are not letting someone on drugs live in our house. And I totally agree with him. That was not going to be okay. It was it was really hard to deal with, and I tried to get her as much help as I could. I tried to take her to an NA meeting. I got her a hotel for the night. It was like $80, so I could only afford one night, which was really devastating because I would have tried to get her, you know, off the streets for longer. But it was a really cold winter, and I was trying my best to figure out everything I could to help her, and that was the only thing I could think of that I could do. And I spent all of my last money on getting her to the NA meeting and getting her a hotel room and things like that. So I spent all of that, doing all those things for her, and um, I still wasn't able to help her. I ended up losing touch with her, um, and I still have no idea how she is or what's going on or any of those things. So yeah, it was definitely a rough year for me, and I can see now, looking back, why things went the way they did. Again, I believe different things. I think that I was stuck in some sort of energy, and I know this sounds crazy to people who don't believe in this stuff, but I was stuck in an energy during that time period. I'm pretty sure there was a spirit involved as well, and it just kind of caused a lot of delusion for me because of that. So, anyways, that's my story for today. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. I already went over time here with my stories, but I could probably keep talking about those things for a while, and I don't want to. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Stay beautiful, stay wonderful, stay amazing, stay awesome, stay unique, stay you. And above all else, you guys love yourselves. Peace and love.